guys, today I'm going to show you how you can make your very own neon pallet sign. So it's pallets, obviously, you can see this is made out of pallets, and the neon is this rather amazing wire that I've recently found out about, which is, I don't know if you can see it's flashing because it's obviously very bright under these lights, so I'll get you a little shot at the end as well of it in a darker atmosphere. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you how to make an ampersand one of these babies. So an ampersand is an and sign, for those of you who are confused. So we are going to go on the general basics of how I made this particular sign. You can see on the back you've got the transformer for this EL wire, which is, as I said, totes amaze. And you can obviously make anything you like. You can make an ampersand, you can make a heart, you can make a dog or a hashtag or whatever you want, okay? Once you've seen the basics of how I do this, you can apply it to whatever you want. I mean, you can even make a word or whatevs, all right? So find me on social media and send me the ones that you make, because I'm really nosy and I like to see what you guys get up to. So I'm going to turn this one off. Is it off? I think it's off. Right. And we'll just prop this over here for the time being. So I am going to use quite a few power tools. I have an array next to me here. I'm not going to just run through the list now because I think that'd be really boring, me standing here for ages. But I will put in the description below the tools which you must have, and also the tools which, you know, you can get away without. Like, say for instance, a sander. You could sand it by hand if you didn't have a sander. It's going to take you a little bit longer, a little bit more elbow grease, but you're still going to manage it. So if you don't have expensive tools, you don't need to worry. So without much further ado, let's get on with it. Oh, this is the wire that we're going to use for this one, by the way. It's white. Supposed to be white. It looks kind of pink to me, but I think, yeah, it's kind of like a neon white kind of lavender colour. See it flashing? Da, da, da. Maybe against the black of my top you can see it. So these are battery operated as well, so you don't have wires down the wall, which is why I chose the battery operated, because oh, it's horrible, isn't it, having loads of wires all over the place. I have this problem with my TV and hi-fi and stuff. There's just too many wires in the world. So if we can hide it behind the sign, brilliant. So, first of all, I've already took the liberty of making myself a template, which I literally looked up ampersands on Google, and then I quickly sketched one out that I liked and neatened it up a bit. And I've also drawn it on this. This is going to be the backing for our sign, okay? So what I'm using is a bit of 6mm scrap MDF. You can use anything similar as long as you can cut it easily in, you know, the shape that you need, and it's quite lightweight. I mean, you can make it heavier if you want, but I think if you're going to make something like this, you want it quite light if you're going to want to hang it on a wall, put it on a shelf, etc, etc. So the point of this base is basically to act as a template for your wooden slats, so that you've got something to pin it to, and it just makes making the letter a little bit easier than trying to attach slats together with no backing, because that would be a nightmare. Alright, so once you have your templates, I'll just run through the heart one quickly in case you wanted to make a heart. So the heart one, I drew half a heart on a folded piece of paper and cut it out, and then when you open it up, obviously, you have a beautiful heart shape, which is completely symmetrical. For this one, couldn't do that. So I just drew it out and then cut it out, and it's looking pretty good, even if I do say so myself. So we can get rid of our paper now, stick that out the way over there. And now we're going to cut this out. I would recommend cutting it out with one of these. Love it. This is a jigsaw with a fine-tooth wood blade in it. And jigsaws are really great because you can get around all the curves and in the nooks and crannies, etc, etc. And it's just going to be a little bit easier than using a hacksaw or something, which you could use, but it's going to take you a little while. Okay? So, and I've got a little trick as well for getting inside these holes. So first of all, let's cut this baby out. Make sure you're wearing safety glasses if you're doing any cutting, or as soon as you step into a workshop environment, you should be wearing glasses. There you go. I've said it. So you can clamp this down if it makes your life easier, but I find it's a little bit quicker not to clamp it down since I'm really used to using one of these. If it's your first time or you're not very confident, please do clamp down the work because it can slide about quite a lot with the vibrations. Make sure you're not cutting through your workbench as well, because that can happen. Obviously not to me, I wouldn't do something like that, but it could happen. Once you have your outline cut out, you can get inside these little semicircles here quite easily if you have a wood drill bit, like so, on a drill, obviously, and you just drill straight through. And then you can fit the blade of your jigsaw through it. Aha! There we go. It's looking groovy already. So around the edges you will have these little bits of it, like MDF kind of fluffy bits on there. And if you're anything like me by now, you'll be covered in dust. Right, so use a little bit of sandpaper just to take off those edgy bits, and then you'll be able to see that your shape is perfect. That is looking pretty darn good, even if I do say so myself. So a couple of things before we move on about using the jigsaw. Always make sure that the foot, which is this piece here, is flat on your workpiece. Don't be trying to, you know, turn it on an angle or anything like that, unless you've got one which you can actually turn the foot on an angle. So, and also don't take corners too sharply. You may have seen while I was doing this that it looked like I was making some unnecessary cuts and then pulling the jigsaw back and continuing round in a gradual curve. That is so that I don't snap the blade. If you try and turn too quickly, or too sharply rather, you will snap your blade and that could ping off back in your face, and it's just irritating, to be honest with you. You don't want to be wasting blades. So don't do that, alright? But you'll soon get used to it. If you feel like you're going off course, then just pull back and try again. But remember, gradual curves, and don't force it, alright? So that is it. Now, you have your base. You need to... The best thing to do now is to get a Stanley blade and just score it over the top of where your slats are going to be. Remember to do it on the correct side, that where your slats will lie, and this will just help the glue to adhere. It's like creating a key when you do painting. So I'm just going to score across the front. Don't go too deep. We're not literally trying to damage this. We're literally just creating some score lines across it. So we'll go that way, and we'll go that way. I think that's enough. So I don't know if you can see, but there are some very light score marks in there, and I can feel them with my finger, but they haven't gone very deep, literally just to hold that glue and hold those wooden slats on there. So for this, I'm using pallet wood. Enough slats there, mate. So here are my slats. Some of them still have pieces of nail in, which I will remove before attaching them. But I think a really good thing to do is to line them up over your sign before you actually start cutting them up, just to make sure that you've got enough. And if you need to take any nails out of any parts, then you can do it then. To take nails out, I just use a hole punch and a hammer. I like to just lay them across and mark out where my slat will come to, so I know where to place the next one. I'm just marking there where to cut that off. I'm going to use a circular saw to quickly cut these slats up. If you don't have a circular saw, you can use your jigsaw or use a hand saw. You can use lots of scraps for this as well, depending on your shape. Like I've got quite a few little bits and bobs that I can use up on this. Once you're happy with the layout of your slats, you can then glue them down. So you'll notice here that my slats are just overlapping my symbol, and that means that it's going to make it easier for me to match it up to the symbol, and afterwards I can cut off the excess and it's going to look brilliant. Once you're happy that all your boards are in the right place and they're all overlapping your template, you can use some scrap pieces of wood and then clamps over the top, and that means that it will hold all of those boards in place, hopefully. And you also don't want to clamp it to the table because you're going to need to move it, okay? That one might put one more in there. Once you've got your work on your workbench flipped upside down, it's ready for pins. So I'm using a tack-wise pin gun and I'm using 15mm brad pins, okay? So what you want to make sure you're doing is going through the MDF and into the pallet wood. You obviously don't want to come out the other side of the pallet wood because that's going to be your beautiful finished side that people are going to see. So this is just to give that wood and glue some extra support and pin it down. So once you've pinned this successfully, you will be able to remove your clamps. But obviously if you're not using a pin gun and you're not using clamps, then you're going to have to wait for the glue to dry. Okay? So this just speeds the process up, but it's not obligatory. Try to make sure that you're not going through but in between two slats, because you might well see the pin and it will push them apart a little bit. I think we've run out. Okay, I think we're done. So I don't know if you can see from there, but these brad nails do stick out about 1mm, and you want that surface to be nice and flush. So just use a little toffee hammer and you can just knock these back in. This one is... well, I don't know how heavy it is, but it's a tiny one. Right, once you think you've got all of them, take your clamps off. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. This side, you can see some of the glue's got squeezed out, so I'm just going to wipe that off with a scrap piece of material. That bit will do. Now, back to the power tools. We are going to use our jigsaw to cut out this shape. We're going to cut off all that extra slat so that it looks like an awesome ampersand. And there we have our pallet ampersand. Once your symbol or sign, whatever you're making, has all its slats on there, you want to think about how you're going to finish it. Do you want to paint it? Do you want a rustic effect? Now would be a really good time to make those decisions. And what I would do if I was painting this is I'd paint it before I sand it, because that way when you do sand it, it's going to give it a lovely rustic effect, because part of the paint's going to be removed with all these kind of, you know, frilly bits of wood that are sticking out. As I'm going to leave this plain, because I'm putting my EL wire around it, I'm just going to give it a quick sand to smooth out those edges. After a quick sand, it's looking much better, and it's also feeling much better, so there's no splinters from this now. Now, we are so close to the finish line. I mean, you could just leave it like that, but if you want to turn it into a neon sign, you're going to need to get your EL wire. So, as I said earlier, this EL wire is battery powered, so we're going to need a place to hide the adapter, or whatever you call this thing. What is it called? Let's just call it a battery casement for now, okay? So I came up with what I think is quite an ingenious plan of using mending brackets. So a mending bracket is basically one of these, where have they gone? Mending plate, right, so mending plates are long metal straps basically that you can put screws through, and you can mend picture frames, or you know, they have a variety of uses. They're made to strengthen things basically. So what I've done with this one is I've bent it in my vise to go from this shape to this shape. And the reason I've done that is because once I attach this part with the two screw holes there, this actually fits in really nicely into here, and it creates like a little cage for it to sit on. So you can even create brackets like I did on the heart. If I show you this, this heart obviously is not going to stand up on a point like that. You can put it on a shelf kind of sideways, but I thought most people are going to want to put it on the wall. So by using the same mending plates and bending them in the same fashion and putting them at the top, you can then hang a wire through it, or you can put pins in the wall to hang it on, and it means that it stands out a little bit. For this ampersand, it will actually stand up, so I think really, you know, you could put that on a shelf or something. I think it would look quite nice on a shelf. So I'm not going to bother with the wall brackets. I'm just going to attach this to the back and keep it up out of the way. So if I was you, I would, for the time being, just masking tape. Use a little piece of masking tape to hold the black part of the wire onto the back, because you're not going to want to see the black wire trailing. We've gone to all this trouble of using batteries so that we don't see a trailing cable, so I do not want to see the black cable from this. So I'm using a drill for this, obviously, because it's quick and I have one. If you don't have one, you can probably use a screwdriver to put in these screws. There's only 2 of them. I'm using screws which are long enough to hold the bracket, but not long enough to go straight through the piece. So you've got your ampersand all planked up, it's cut out, it's sanded, and you have your EL wire adapter, that's what it's called, attached to the back with your mending plate. Now, for the last piece of this puzzle, we're going to attach the EL wire. Now, I did check up the manufacturer's guidelines on how to attach this, because you can wear this on clothing. I mean, you could jazz up your old Christmas jumper, or, well, the possibilities are endless, quite frankly. It doesn't just end with ampersands, does it? So, I'm going completely off course here. Yes, we're going to attach this with a hot glue gun. So mine, this one, actually says that it's a Crafty Magic Melt and a low temperature bonder. I think it's just cooler than other hot glue guns, but it is still quite hot. I don't know. Anyway, so it's heating up. It is hot. It's not low temperature. I burned my finger now. I'm an idiot. It's alright, it's fine. Show must go on. Right, let's attach this baby, shall we? So choose which end you're going to start at. Bear in mind that hot glue guns are... they can be a little bit tricksy, can't they? You get all those long kind of bits coming off them. So I tell you what you should do. I remember what I did now. So you use some of this here masking tape and just hold it in place where you want it around your symbol. And that way, when you come to glue it on, you're not going to get in a tangle with all the EL wire and the glue going everywhere and burning your fingers, because that can happen apparently. Happens to some people. So I'm going to first of all put one piece here at the top where I'm attaching it, and then as neatly as I possibly can and as close to the front of the ampersand as I possibly can, I'm going to mask at at many points around the ampersand to hold the EL wire in place, And then we're going to glue this baby down. Cray cray, I know. Right, with your EL wire taped down, it should look a little something like this. Don't worry if it's a little bit pokey outy in places, technical term. Now I've glued my wire down, I'm going to take all my masking tape off. And hopefully, oh, there's one more bit, hopefully it will stay where it's put. Now let's turn it on. Da, 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 da. Can you see it, that it's on? After all that hard work, let me turn the light off. And now can you see it? I can see it, it's looking awesome. So these have a couple of settings. You can have it wah, 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 wah. Full on strobing. You can have it off. That came out wrong. Can't if you want. Just, I don't want to know about it. You can have it just on like that, which is what I'd probably have. Or you can have kind of, yeah, casual strobing. So that's it for this tutorial. I really hope you've enjoyed it. Please do tweet me with the things that you make. And maybe you'll make yourself a hashtag or, you know, however you interpret this into your own build. I'd love to see it. So you can tweet me, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook. I'm on it all. And I'll put the links below. I'll also put the links to my dismantling wooden pallet videos. There's 2 at the moment and I plan to try out more methods as well, so that should help you if you're having problems with taking pallets apart, because they're not the easiest. And I've also got another video which tells you where you can find them and other free materials. So I'll put that in the links below, but do check out my other videos. And if you're a newbie to my channel, how about subscribing? Have a great weekend, guys, and a Happy New Year. I've got a ton of gravel in my shoes.